How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is part 2. Guys, there are 6 chapters here. He says 6 ways to make people like you. Chapter 1 is called Do This and You'll Be Welcome Anywhere. Dale Carnegie says, why are you reading this book when you can very well go learn the techniques of the world's greatest winner of friends? You may see him tomorrow walking down the street, and as you approach him, his tail begins to wag. As you get even closer, he may jump up on you and start licking your face. He is lavish in his affection, and he will show his affection towards you without wanting anything in return. He is not trying to sell you real estate. He is not trying to marry you. He says that the dog is the only animal that doesn't have to work for a living. The chickens lay us eggs, and the cows, we get milk from them. But a dog just shows you its love and affection, and we love it in return. Dale Carnegie had a dog for a few years that his dad bought him for 50 cents, a little yellow-haired pup. And he grew up with it, and he said he learned a lot from this dog. When he would come up the hill from work, the dog would run up to him and show him all his love. And I'll read you this example he gives. He says, Tippy was my constant companion for 5 years. Then one tragic night, I shall never forget it, he was killed within 10 feet of my head. Killed by lightning. Tippy's death was the tragedy of my boyhood. You never read a book on psychology, Tippy. You didn't need to. You knew by some divine instinct that you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. He goes on to repeat this. Instead of trying to get others interested in us, we appear genuinely interested in them. People want to feel important. We've been over that in the other chapters. Check this out. The New York Telephone Company made a detailed study of telephone conversations to find out which word is the most frequently used. You have guessed it. It is the personal pronoun I. It was used 3,900 times in 500 telephone conversations. I. When you see a group of... This is cool too. Check this out. When you see a group photograph that you are in, whose picture do you look at first? It's crazy. I've done videos with other people. I'm fucking selfish, man. I look right to me. Okay, it's human nature. We look at us. We want to know how we act. We feel of importance. Check it out. Record yourself with a friend, man. You'll look at yourself. You won't even look at your friend. You might glance over. If we merely try to impress people and get people interested in us, we will never have many true, sincere friends. Friends, real friends, are not made that way. Now, check it out. The psychologist, Alfred Adler, said in a book that he wrote, it is the individual who is not interested in his fellow men who has the greatest difficulties in life and provides the greatest injury to others. It is from among such individuals that all human failures spring. When I read that, it reminded me of conversation with people in my life. When someone is only interested in yourself, you may know this type, and you may be able to call them out very quick. This type, to me, is usually a slave to many vices. This person, upon talking to them, instead of moving the conversation forward, and I'm guilty of this, right? Because I am selfish myself. I want to feel important. Instead of moving the conversation forward, the ego is brought into the picture. The I, the opinions of his own life, of his own realizations, and that's fine, but instead of being considerate of what other men have said, maybe the greatest men, maybe learning from the best, or the men that we're talking to, no, we want to put ourselves into the picture. We want to give our own opinions about what we think of life and how it affects us. I'm sure you can relate. I'll read it again. He says it twice. He puts it in italics. It is the individual who is not interested in his fellow men, who has the greatest difficulties in life and provides the greatest injury to others. It is from among such individuals that all human failures spring. You know, this is kind of, I digress here, going back to the dog. There's something there to be said. There's another video there about dealing with women, right? When you're pick up, guys, pick up just like a dog, maybe becoming a dog. I'm not saying become a savage, becoming affectionate, becoming free like a dog, wagging its tail. You don't need anything in return. You are not looking for validation. A dog doesn't look for validation. A dog is not looking to get something out of. And a lot of times in us dealing with women, we appear desperate. You may have heard, don't give a fuck, right? No fucks given. What does that mean? It means becoming like a dog. It means becoming able to approach with no end goal in mind, with no concern of what is going to happen. All right? I'm not expecting to bring this girl home and have sex with her. I'm not expecting to get anything out of her, any approval or anything. I just am being myself. I am being free. I am being loved. I am being conscious. I am being a dog. You see what I'm saying? With anyone, wherever we go, this applies. If we want to make friends, let's put ourselves out to do things for other people. Things that require time, energy, unselfishness, and thoughtfulness. Require time and energy. He said he would go around and ask people their birthday upon meeting them. He had this little technique he used to get their birthday out of them. But anyways, he would remember. He would say November 14th, November 14th. And as soon as they turned around and left, he'd take out his pocketbook and he'd write down Janet, November 14th. And he'd put it away. And every year, he would mark on his calendar and he would acknowledge that person's birthday. Now that took immense time and energy, but he said it was worth it. By showing people that I'm attentive to them, by showing them that I took the time, I'm being appreciative, I'm acknowledging you of your existence, of your birth date. And the feedback he got back was immense. It was very powerful. We want to make friends. If we want to make friends, let's greet people with animation and enthusiasm. One of my favorites. Really, upon reading Napoleon Hill's The Master Key System, 13 Keys to Success, when I heard this key, it was right in the middle. Enthusiasm and then positive mental attitude. Now, enthusiasm it's simple, right? We want to be enthusiastic. We want to greet people with a firm handshake. We want to be the light, right? Be the energy source, I say, where we light up a room. But really, being enthusiastic takes time. A lot of times it takes us building that momentum to get to a certain place, to get out of our houses, right, when we're alone, and then be in a social circle, to really be this light, this bundle of energy, this human that is not stuck inside of his head, but he is alert, he is aware, he is mindful of those around him. He's happy to be alive. Enthusiasm will change lives, guys. It'll change your life, because if you can get to a place daily of abundance, of being enthusiastic, people are going to see that. Because people are in their status quo. People are used to just going throughout the day and seeing people kind of moping around with their heads down, complaining about the weather, complaining about work. But when someone comes in contact with them that has built themselves up to this high state of abundance and love for life, and they say hi to you, it's a power plant, man. It rubs off on them. It electrifies them. You've come in contact with these people. You may aspire to be one of these people. I know I do every single day. It's why I talk about building momentum, because when I wake up in the morning, I'm not always there. I'm not always tap dancing to work. I'm not always in the best mood, but I have to get out of my head because, like Dale Carnegie says, 95% of the time, that's where we're at. And when we're stuck inside of our heads, we are not in our best. We are, like he said in that quote, we provide the greatest injury to others. It is from among such individuals that all human failures spring. So, I will leave you guys with this story. This is at the very end of this chapter. It was Thanksgiving Day, and I was 10 years old. I was in a welfare ward of a city hospital and was scheduled to undergo major orthopedic surgery the next day. I knew that I could only look forward to months of confinement and convalescence and pain. My father was dead. My mother and I lived alone in a small apartment, and we were on welfare. My mother was unable to visit me that day. As the day went on, I became overwhelmed with the feeling of loneliness, despair, and fear. I knew my mother was home alone, worrying about me, not having anyone to be with, not having anyone to eat with, and not even having enough money to afford a Thanksgiving Day dinner. The tears welled up in my eyes, and I stuck my head under the pillow and pulled the covers over it. I cried silently, but oh so bitterly, so much that my body wrecked with pain. A young student nurse heard my sobbing and came over to me. She took the covers off my face and started wiping my tears. She told me how lonely she was, having to work that day and not being able to be with her family. She asked me whether I would have dinner with her. She brought 2 trays of food, sliced turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and ice cream for dessert. She talked to me and tried to calm my fears. Even though she was scheduled to go off duty at 4 p.m., she stayed on her own time until almost 11 p.m. She played games with me, talked to me, and stayed with me until I finally fell asleep. Many Thanksgivings have come and gone since I was 10, but one never passes without me remembering that particular one and my feelings of frustration, fear, and loneliness, and the warmth and tenderness of the stranger that somehow made it all bearable. If you want others to like you, if you want to develop real friendships, if you want to help others at the same time as you help yourself, keep this principle in mind. Principle number 1, become genuinely interested in other people. See you guys soon.